Why we got into the IMF. You were spending too much relative to revenues, which is true. You were borrowing too much, which is true. Your external payments position has deteriorated, which is true. And so you ended up, your growth is reducing, which is true. So you ended up at the IMF. And the IMF would impose certain conditions, which is true. And if you don't do certain things right, the anchor will not hold, which is true. So I'm not quite sure what it is that is not true that I said, but I think unfortunately the supporters of this government and this government itself are very reluctant to admit the truth even when it hits them in the face. Yeah.
True, thank you about that.
These are today's top 10 fastest footballers.
Why we got into the IMF. You were spending too much relative to revenues, which is true. You were borrowing too much, which is true. Your external payments position has deteriorated, which is true. And so you ended up, your growth is reducing, which is true. So you ended up at the IMF. And the IMF would impose certain conditions, which is true. And if you don't do certain things right, the anchor will not hold, which is true. So I'm not quite sure what it is that is not true that I said, but I think unfortunately the supporters of this government and this government itself are very reluctant to admit the truth even when it hits them in the face.
It's just like handing over power to NDC without a contest. Straight away, because the noise we made, and I threw my own words back when I said NDC went to IMF because of mismanagement of the party, the government, or the economy. So if NPP is going to IMF, what am I going to say? What am I going to say? So breaking the eight is going to be tough. You cannot use the phrase of those who took us to IMF to break the eight. They don't work. My message to you is simple. You cannot read my lips, and I'm not scared of anybody in the party. I'll tell you the gospel truth. It's the gospel truth. Those who take you to IMF cannot.
Yo, Abusia for Sabri, Mamwaka Baba, NK97 live show. It's a political moment of facts. We've listened to several voices. The first voice we listened to was Dr. Mohammadu Bawumia, the vice president. And that was his take during the era of John Dramani Mahama, which was, he took the position from 2012 down to 2016 or 15. And this situation is when the NDC took Ghanaian economy to the International Monetary Fund. Now it has become obvious that Ghana economy has been tainted, has gone into the drain, all in the name of, several links. So if you could see the letter that is indicated on the platform, you could see that the government of Ghana instructed the finance minister to engage with the International Monetary Fund. And now people are playing the words of Mohammadu Bawumia. And just a couple days ago, an aspiring presidential candidate of the New Patriotic Party, Kennedy Akumpreko Japan, also added his voice. But he too made some remarks during the NDC era, which when they took us to the IMF Kennedy Japan also made mention of the government being lazy and the government being incompetent, which they refer every words of negativity to John Dramani Mahama. Now, the NPP, which is the New Patriotic Party, led by Nana and Bawumia, has also become a disappointing tool for Ghanaian economy. But I will just take this platform to say that I am woefully and shockingly disappointed in Dr. Mohammadu Bawumia. Ever since this issue came up, some of us were expecting Dr. Mohammadu Bawumia to have come out to at least say something to Ghanaians. But unfortunately, we don't hear the voice of Dr. Mohammadu Bawumia. Yes, so he is going to, he is an aspiring candidate for the NPP presidential candidacy. And very unfortunately, this incident of IMF, the government going to IMF, are being justified by some government of machineries, some surrogates, and some sympathizers. But I'm taking this platform to say to the government, or to tell the government, that it is highly, or we are highly, Ghanaians are highly disappointed. No matter how you justify this situation, we will give you the same words you gave to John Dramani Mahama. I know some platforms are being, spill the same bean to you. But unfortunately, some of us, which one way or the other, we're from the background of NPP, we cannot justify this. It is very unfortunate that Ghana is going to IMF. No matter how competent you think you are, and you're going to sit down with the International Monetary Fund, making sure that you bargain through your internal, programs. But we all know that when you go to IMF, you cannot take your own, knowledge or privilege or your own program to IMF for the IMF to succumb to that kind of demand. By all means, IMF will give you a demand that will cut off productivity. If not even productivity, it will cut off people. Because the conditionality IMF will spell or put it down for government or for countries, it's not something to, that will favor the ordinary citizens of a country, more or less Ghanaians. We all know 2013, 2014, 15, whereby Mahama took us to IMF. The NDC took us to IMF. We all know, and we are witness to the fact that the training college allowances were cut off. Nursing training allowances were cut off. The government were not able to even employ people. Now, we know the flashy programs that UNPP people have, which we can talk about your free SHS. We can also talk about the ambulances. We can also talk about 1D, 1F, 1 district, 1 die. We can talk about so many programs. The homegrown policy economy that Ghanaians we have now. We are worried because now ordinary Ghanaian can take his or her child to school. But when this IMF issue comes in, any freebies government have is going to be cut off. So how then do you justify that economy or going to the IMF is justifiable? And for that matter, nothing, it will not affect Ghana economy or Ghanaian policies that Ghanaians are enjoying now. Dr. Mohammadu Bawumia needs to be ashamed. It is not everything that we do agree with the opposition. Yes. Because the oppositions are so mischievous. The oppositions are fighting to get into the bottom or to come into power. So they're taking all the diverse means, the possible means, all the avenues to discredit the government. But this government seems not to care about what they do, just to convey and communicate to the ordinary Ghanaian for one simple understanding. Nobody is disputing how competent, how good NPP is. But on this time, or at this time, you have failed. You have failed the government. You have failed the ordinary Ghanaian. You have failed the citizens. And you have made the opposition gain power through this kind of irresponsible behavior of the government. We were there when Mohammadu Bawumia said that for you to go to IMF, that means you are spending more. But we are also a witness to the fact that the NPP government, you cut off some kind of revenues, you cut off some kind of, policies. You cut off. But here Ghanaians are, that we're going to IMF. It is not bad to go to IMF, but we have so many opportunities as a country. Why can't we utilize it? We have gold, we have diamond, we have timber, we have bauxite. We've given our bauxite to people to enjoy, for us to take a token. We will not sit down to support this kind of irresponsible behavior of a government. We're not going to sit down and support something that is repairable. Adebia kan yebetimi aye o man ni mu ni atwe won fi IMF no. Enya no ne eba be support. Now we don't hear the voice of Bawumia. And now the government is doing so many things just to let ordinary Ghanaians to understand this. How would they understand? On your own words, you said somebody going to IMF. Onimiyansa wabon waye incompetent. Here is the case. A government of competency or competence is going to IMF. How do you justify that? How do you justify that? And you are telling us you going to IMF, that means your program, it will be different. How different will it be? Are we still going to have free SHS? Are we still going to have nurses training allowances, teachers training allowances? Are we still going to have 1D, 1F? Are we still going to have 1D, 1 dime? Are we still going to have the program, the government, road infrastructure, the hospitals is building, everything the government started? Are we still going to have it? We think no. We don't believe it. And you have become so disappointment to the ordinary Ghanaian by justifying that you're going to IMF because you didn't have what it takes, or the opposition did not approve. You don't need opposition approval to move a country on. You are in government. We were there when you come up by say, "Mo yesika." Emma mo be ka kire Ghana for say, "Mo ye bibia, your friend electronic e-levy, which is electronic levy." Ghana levy bebrebe na ya motia. Mo di kwa hen. Obi di adie ba Ghana. Mo di ye e-levy. Mo di ye national insurance levy. Mo di ye levies bebre. I know 80 million more Ghana for. But now you put brainiest people down to come and convince Ghanaians Go to all the FM stations. I have your schedules here. The schedules that the government want his surrogates. We have it here. We have it here. Let the camera pick it. We have it here. You know? You let in upon Kruma, go to City FM, Jinapo, go to UTV, Joseph Kujo, going to GTV. What is all this thing going to do to the ordinary Ghanaians? What is all going to do? When ebeye die na ama ordinary Ghanaian. Wait. Sa adie we no ebeye die na ama ordinary Ghanaian. Let's pick it up. When amudi ba no ebeye die e de ama ordinary Ghanaian. Politicians won kano kre. Everything obi o trust you say NPP ni NDC nyina mo ye baako. Yes indeed, mo ye baako. If say nukura kano eya mo dire. Nukura ni kano eya mo dire. You see ene yo Canada Japan ono so onam akompra konam. And ono so e kire say going to IMF no, the government has disappointed us and omomo currently Mohammadu Bawumia vice president doctor any Alan Kojo Chilamatin any the government currently reigning no, they have disappointed us and for that matter no ono justify so obetimi aye yate impempi se oka se obetimi the tourism etichiro mind also ye MPP ni it is idea way ekoso no. Why don't you approach the government if you have anything possible? Say government, why don't we take this? You see, everybody is justifying their own selfish interest, and that is how I see it. That is how I see it. Who are Bemu? Why buy the wasso? Who are party? Why buy the wasso? Now say abino eko echia esaya. Why can't you go in? Tell them government. Why now we justify one instance? What's it uni Yura ajakum kufuo? Ebra no oko IMF. Wuni ni nyina ba United States of America. Mo betra si amon kenkan anase conditionality omedi mamu no. Enipa do di animu so no ye Indiani. You raise your hand more than an hour. They never wanted to call you. Yes, indeed. John and the Kumkufu kasi yamfrau. Yes, yafrau. O question how the two on the say. Enka eye ni kromo. And think all this conditionality. And that's a come back IMF ana. And that is what you said. And the enuti oma ko IMF. Eba ni send Akufo-Addo tam de. Mo nyina mutimi nya adwene. Na mutimi ni Akufo-Addo entimi kasa. Na mutimi fo kwan papa bia oman no ebetimi aboa ama oman na kwa anim. Ya wa ha ana aban no beka kire se wo hia yi elevi. Wo di 1.75 ana baaye. NDC for twini mu be 6 months. Ya nyina ti Ghana ha. Ene ewu se NDC for twi aban ni mu 6 good months for just one policy. Ebetimi ama na de no hu every amuchira government no ekom. After 6 months, I don't want you 1.5 at 2. And let me tell you, okay, some countries are levy, they have 5%. Some other countries 2%. The least one me who here is 0.2%. Now, as will be any. So if you are a government, now opposition Musa, don't you have what is called executive power? Or maybe or executive power. As a leader, you use your executive power to rule the country when the opposition is frustrating you. But here is the case. you have let the NDC won this battle. Because they told you they're going to frustrate you. Yet you are, and I catch say NDC former the disca. Yes. A best of fear, echo bear in fear what tree money. Yet to me, a more, a cuckoo dam no, my discano, a grand conquer to jail. We are, and I could see HRB, special prosecutor, at the buyer. A best in there, young woman, you could watch no, and in a court. You about 2 years ago, Jenny Pano. It is the end of the Sikaye. I saw Maya, ya Timua. Instead, some obey a Juma, a Bewama ordinary Ghanaian, and your son Faswan, Debbie. Ye knew what he said. Mudravo Casa Cassia Mututu Aquine. Say, ye ni NPP communicator bimpa ana abamu kasa mafubia odi insampo ebreye ebede no man no atimi ehuni ekoso enti dani dan nyina yetewa no obi di na adwere ena ekasa kire oman no say NDC matrase ma NDC atimi ato enipa atwene ewo oman Ghana mu enese mu koto aba yebeto ama NDC aja NPP ho. But we ain't also to Ghana in fear since 1992. I call Kamima Mikari, a mamuano. Yawu abaya, what me about teacher or my Ghana? What is NPP? But yes, still, Mobanya Aquania number Traswa, Nafe atumune entitimu and papemu and backbiting. Mutu train and tire about the swa. Say your opposition, NPP opposition against the government. You know be a friend Reku Brobe, you know be a friend Tamo I can't say Tamaklu. Ya what Tamaklu. Say yak one kasamumu. One kasamumu, no pe oya by open aspiring candidate. Our aspiring candidate for NPP. Former energy minister, Boache Jako, or most of the most our MPP. Because the reason here, I'm sorry, I friendship. So if the friendship does not help more, and these are all the things MPP need to sit down and work it out. The selfish interest in MPP is going to bring the party down. And I'm so disappointed in Bawumia. I am so disappointed, highly and shockingly disappointed, woefully disappointed. We have so many people in NPP who can do the work. And Nanadu, I am so disappointed in you. What about Trasu in 6 years? What do you mean you're reshuffle? What do you mean you're reshuffle? All your ministers that you appointed, I have them here. Only Boache Dakunkwa na yi in the free war. And that is no reshuffle. It is because of Amari deal. So what are we doing as a country? What are we doing as a country? Obia or MPP mu bia no yen selfish interest. But even the selfish interest aye adwuma awo amamuo mu. Amamuo is not for the government alone. It's for every individual in the country. Because what is governance? Governance is for the people and of the people. So we cannot sit down. Now, yawo any say mama enipa enya no ekasa MPP for. Na nadu dankwa when we are powerful mama enipa enya no ekasa. There is nothing you will say to us. I bet me paper the incompetency you fourth mention to John Dramani Mahama. You said John Dramani Mahama is incompetent. It's a weak government. It's a government that has brought Ghanaian economy into shambles, into array. Now, what has happened? We know, in every governance or every government, in terms of your era, there will be some unexpected situations that will come to test the pulse of your ability and your competency. We know COVID-19 came as a result from 19 to 20 to 2021. It has reduced. It is not all the time that you have to resort everything to COVID-19. Ukraine war did not bring or did not cause anything to harm Ghanaians. We know every factor that affected Ukraine people or affected different countries will affect us. But we have policies, we have situations that Ghanaians can sit, work on it, homegrown policies that we can do our own thing. And then NMA, Ukraine because of farming. Ghanaians, we are land. We belong to the savannah land. Afforestation. There was so many forestry. Our Ghana. We can do farming to do exports and imports. Now. Any name they call IMF. America for catch them America for as of 2022 Ukraine war Russia-Ukraine war ebaye enkola ya war mu America enye aduane ni. They didn't go to IMF. You may think say IMF is in their country. How do you trust ka? Muda bia mo wo adwene kese e kasa kire ye de ya bo adam ye nim nyansa. Enti da bia no ne mo be ka kire no eno ne yemfa. Na mo de abeto America bi America fo ye say America fo so ho kire. America fo ho kire. Ye pe omaya omudi ka kese pa e America fo. Enso oman so a omutimi hwe om nkrofo e America fo. Are we sick as Ghanaians? Yasi okafo didi. Magana fonti ase. Sa omaye. Say ni ankaye wo. Say ni yekom. Enu nti ebia adwenkyere bi aba. Ye ko ni sen. But umfiti preko pe. Empeja oman kese no sa no. Engongoto IMF. Enkoje sika bosi a edu ba dukura muntimi mbo ho emwo ho akonta. Ebra ye hye yilevi ase. Yilevi ba ye. Yilevi eba ye. Ye nyina ya hu. Okoye yilevi. Adi oman no efa so. Mo be ka kire se sika ya mo expect no enso. Enso a edie policy na betimi aye a ebetimi ama aye aso. Sa enso a ne ebeso no ade na mo fa nya adwuma. Edie kwa na mo hwehwe se oman ni konkoduru. Oman ya fa ni ye kekere. Oman ni koduru sai. We must cut our coat according to our size. Yama ye fa ni ma bi mekekere ho enkotom ye ho nkokoto IMF. And now oman ya do say ye oman bebromo IMF. Asuro bia ni niti. Enti ba mo nkofa oman fufuro bi nsam e ma be ka kire say omko IMF. Enti yeso ye ko IMF. A craziness. When your upon crewman jina ho, when your ministers ni Bawumia no mu nyina kokọ radio station, why no be convince no? Mosi Mahama incompetent. Ye nyina so nim say yes indeed Mahama was incompetent. Mo ba no ma be ye niam ni nyina kama. E die ti na mo sa de ko IMF. Explain things to the Ghanaians. There is no justification to this crazy move. All that we are saying, say it is upon time the government come out. Since when we na buy crown, Oman Penya Kufuado, fellow Ghanaians, yeti uka. Dr. Mohammadu Bawumia, yeti uka.
abronya no motetewo yante monka Kennedy de me open aban bi open the president bi na bedi temi ne Kennedy ka sese me mfa ho because oni nyina onu so dansuo ni mu bi said the for Kennedy asem no e kire se oka government no it is obi wa want to say Kennedy be can say anything ne Kennedy ka no onu de onka ba ho me sim hu Kennedy oka ho Kennedy no na other friend say Ghana gas ano no na ye board chairman ye government na appointed no we need to be